during that period of time to spend time in nature and to observe nature. Because when you spend time in nature and you watch sunrise and sunset, one, you realize the timing of life, how slow life moves. You realize the cycles of life. There is a circadian cycle. There is a lunar cycle. Within the human body, there is a cellular cycle. In women, there is a menstrual cycle. There is seasonal cycle, right? Winter, spring, summer, fall. So you realize, there is cycles that govern life. And then when you observe nature, you realize suddenly that many of the laws of life are being witnessed through observation. The law of impermanence, the law of cycles, the law of demand and supply, the law of energy flow. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And that alone will prepare a student to already open their mind to a different way of thinking, which is a listening to the natural world. And how do we absorb what we witness and the laws that we recognize from the natural world? And then knowing that the laws that govern life outside are the same laws that govern life inside.
Hey, welcome. This is Dr. Ben Glass. I'm a chiropractor. Today, I'm with one of my biggest mentors, Dr. Arno Burnier. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your life to join us today and hopefully provide a ton of value for any prospective student out there who's considering this path. We often call this a calling. And with this podcast, we're really trying to reach the people. We're trying to almost market the message of chiropractic to find people that might appreciate this way of life. So Arno, can we get started by you just sharing a little bit about what your background was before you were attracted to this profession and before you became a chiropractor? What were you doing? What was your upbringing like?
So first, let me say this. You mentioned, marketing chiropractic to other people. I would rather say we are seeding and planting seeds. Truly, it is a calling, and I don't even call it a profession. I call it a vocation. So it's about, creating an awareness for people that are called to do this. So you asked me about my background. I was born and raised in Paris, France. I went to medical school for 2 years, René Descartes Medical University. And then I spent a year in a hospital, which was a cancer service, what we call a pilot hospital, where they were doing experimental cancer treatment on ear, nose, throat, and stomatology, which is the jaw and obviously ear, nose, throat. So that was my background. And then during that time, I loved to race motorcycle, like amateur racing. So I was racing motorcycle, and on one of the races, I crashed on the track. And as a result of it, I started to have chronic migraine headaches and loss of sensation on the right side of my body. So I never knew about chiropractic. I never heard anything about it. There was, I think at the time, 90 chiropractors for a population of 55 million people in Paris. That was 1973. So I never heard of it. My parents never heard of it. And someone told my mother, listen, it sounded like he had a traumatic injury, sliding on the track and hitting the embankment, with the helmet and the jolt that it created. He probably had a spinal injury. And I recommend he go see a doctor of chiropractic. They are specialists from America that specialize in the nerve and spine. So that's how I ended up in a chiropractor's office. This man had so much passion, so much love, so much charisma. And also he presented a paradigm for life, for health, for healing that was so different than the life and the world that was living in, that I was studying. Symptoms, sickness, disease, pathology, morbidity. That's the expertise of medicine. But chiropractic is really about life, about health, about healing, about well-being, and about wellness. So it's a completely different paradigm, a completely different profession. It has nothing to do with medicine, the same way that an electrician has nothing to do with a plumber. So it is that's separate and distinct. That being said, I want to make sure that anybody listening does not misconstrue what I'm talking about. We are not opposed to medicine. There is a time and place for medicine, the same way that there is a time and place for chiropractic. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Absolutely. So can you tell me about that experience when you went to that chiropractor in France, and what was different about the experience that really turned a light bulb on for you and let you know that, hey, this is a completely different way of thinking clinically or just meeting people where they're at in that practice? Can you talk a little bit about that experience and what it was that was interesting about it?
When I first arrived in his office on my first visit, there must have been 20 or 30 people in the waiting room. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a really long wait. And then within 20 minutes to half an hour, everybody was gone. And so I was introduced into his office as a new person, a new patient. And I dispensed to him my symptomatology, what was going on with me. Obviously, I was a medical student, so I was very inflated at the time with my verbalization and the way that I expressed myself medically to impress him. He was a specialist from America. I was like, man, this is somebody. And he listened very intently. He didn't say a word, and he totally connected with me. And when I was done, he looked straight into my eyes. Actually, he looked straight into my soul. And he says, there is nothing that I can do with what's wrong with you. What I can do, however, is address what is right in you. You cannot fight darkness. You must turn on the light. You cannot fight disease. You must turn on life. And that was the totality of his communication. And in that moment, light bulb went off in my head, because it was such a departure from the world that I was studying and living in. So it was a breath of fresh air. It was a very new idea, a new paradigm, a new worldview in many ways. So I received care from him, and it took a while, but my symptom disappeared. But the most important thing is that I grew a relationship with him, a friendship with him, and then he started to really convey to me what chiropractic was about. And one of the things that struck me, I remember vividly, he said chiropractic is like the Jean-Jacques Cousteau Society of the internal environment. We revere and honor the sanctity of the human body. We revere and honor the sanctity of the human blood. And we really are about inner ecology. So that alone was a great opening of my mind, and it became fascinating. And then he started to share the principle and the laws of life and the philosophy of chiropractic. And I was taken. I was completely taken. And I decided to become a chiropractor. And that fall, I left France, Paris, France, to go to Spartanburg, South Carolina, to go to Sherman College of Chiropractic, which was proclaimed to be, at the time, the very best chiropractic college in the world. And I was absolutely thrilled to go there. And that's how my chiropractic career started. And the experience at Sherman College was extraordinary. I mean, the passion, the love, the dedication, the mutual cooperation. Because in medical school, there is tremendous competition. And that's the first thing that struck me. In chiropractic college, there was total cooperation, support of you going through your study. And I have to say this, Ben, that many people may not realize, but I didn't speak a word of English. So I came to a school not speaking English. And I remember having to memorize the sentences to recognize them on the test. But I got the help of my fellow students, and after a couple of months, I started to get the hang of more and more words and sentences. And then after about 6 months, I was able to communicate to some degree.
Amazing story. Can we continue to unpack the distinctions between a medical education and chiropractic professional training, and how a prospective student can really wrap their mind around, okay, if I go to chiropractic school, what am I going to be studying? How am I going to be thinking? How should I be thinking? What should I be focusing on and learning about? How would you orient them to the education, given that it's obviously a bit complex in today's world?
Absolutely. So the first thing that I would say is we study all of the science of life that are the same sciences that are studied in medicine: anatomy, physiology, pathology, biology, osteology, you name it, biochemistry. So we study the science of life. The great distinction is that we study it with tremendous reverence for the mind behind those sciences. When you look at biology, or you look at neurology, or you look at the brain, what kind of mind, what kind of designer, what kind of intelligence created this structure called the brain, which is water and fat, and it does what it does. It's bewildering. When you look at the eye, when you look at the heart, what kind of engineer, designer, intelligence, mind designed this? So that's a perspective that we have in chiropractic. And from that perspective, we're in awe and we grow reverence and humbleness in the recognition that there is an intelligence that designs life, that designs the human body. And we need to honor it, respect it, and work with it. So that's one of the great distinctions. Beyond that, obviously, we study the principle of chiropractic, the laws that govern life, that govern health, that govern healing. And we study how to clear the neurospinal system. And for the neophyte, for the student, means the spine and spinal cord nerve roots. How to clear that, to open up the channel between brain, where all of the information resides, and the body, where all the information are being expressed and manifested into life. So that's very much the study that we have. And it's a world-changing study. It really changed you as a human being. It grows you. It's a matter of fact, when I look back at friends of mine from France that I knew, that we went to college together, we went to medical university together, and I encountered them 5 or 10 years later, they hadn't moved from where they were in their mindset, in their personal growth. And I had evolved tremendously as a result of my chiropractic education. It has also been an inside-out philosophy of life, which means you are making an inner journey to tap into something within, to tap into the laws within, to tap into the truth within. And that journey is a beautiful journey. It's a discovery.
If we were to give some practical steps that somebody can get started on that inner journey of deconstructing their belief system as they view health, healing, and well-being, and as they view the environment around them and how they're a part of their environment, and also just bringing in the natural laws of life, how can we get this new student to really start to take little baby steps on this journey we call chiropractic?
Well, I would say the first thing is to disconnect from the media, to completely cut off the TV and the programming, to start being deprogrammed, because unbeknown to us, especially in America and the Western world, we are being bombarded and programmed and indoctrinated and domesticated by the media. And we have lost the contact with our inner radio station, with the inner world, the world that speaks from within. So that's the first thing. After a period of time, I would say 3 to 6 months, there is a change that takes place. During that period of time, to spend time in nature and to observe nature. Because when you spend time in nature and you watch sunrise and sunset, one, you realize the timing of life, how slow life moves. You realize the cycles of life. There is a circadian cycle. There is a lunar cycle. Within the human body, there is a cellular cycle. In women, there is a menstrual cycle. There is seasonal cycle, right? Winter, spring, summer, fall. So you realize, there is cycles that govern life. And then when you observe nature, you realize suddenly that many of the laws of life are being witnessed through observation. the law of impermanence, the law of cycles, the law of demand and supply, the law of energy flow. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And that alone will prepare a student to already open their mind to a different way of thinking, which is a listening to the natural world, and how do we absorb what we witness and the laws that we recognize from the natural world. And then knowing that the laws that govern life outside are the same laws that govern life inside. So that's a great preparation in understanding the physiology, the biology, the mechanism of the body. And then also when you're in nature, to be in awe. I mean, nature is a dynamic creation that changes all the time. And the body is a dynamic creation. And you know, I live in Colorado, right? So at night, every night, I take my dog out. And I live in a small ranch bordering a 500-acre ranch. There is no light pollution. So I look at the stars every night. And that alone tells you there is an intelligence greater than ourselves that runs the human body, that runs the universe. And it humbles you. And it causes you to question our place in the universe. So, you know, that to me is
I've been getting up at like 4 a.m. lately just so that I could see the stars, because obviously I have a little bit more light pollution than you do, and that's one of the only times that I can see them. Can we also start to talk about language and differentiating therapeutic from non-therapeutic chiropractic, and also differentiating life force from innate intelligence, from nerve interference, and why it's important for students to start to really become familiar with these concepts?
Great. So language, one of the big thing is, you know, the world out there, society out there, the public has a tendency to view chiropractic as a treatment for backache and neck ache. To me, viewing chiropractic as a treatment for backache and neck ache is like viewing a brain surgeon or brain surgery as a treatment for headaches. Now, granted, we have to recognize that some headaches are caused by a tumor in the brain, and when the brain surgery is taking place, the headache may go away. But that does not make brain surgery a treatment for headaches. By the same token, when chiropractors work in the neurospinal system with the spine and central nervous system, many people experience benefit from backache and neck ache. But that's not the purpose of chiropractic. The purpose of chiropractic is to free the life force, which is the motive power that powers the human body, and to free the information highway between brain and body, between the brain stem and the rest of the body, so that the body can express life in a more fuller way, can perform better, can express itself better, and can be healthier and have a greater capacity to heal and adapt. So that's very much, you know, the chiropractic approach. So in the language and within our profession, there is people that work in a therapeutic model. They want to treat condition with chiropractic, when chiropractic is not really a treatment for anything. Actually, chiropractic is more facilitating the inner power of life to do what it does best. And sometimes you will witness healings, sometimes you won't, because there is also what we call limitation of time and limitation of matter. And I want to clarify this. If a 93-year-old person come in with severe knee pain due to degeneration of the cartilage, it's bone on bone, no matter what you're going to do to that person, limitation of time, not enough time, because soon they're going to exit this planet, and limitation of matter, because you can't rebuild cartilage in a 93-year-old person. So people have to understand that there is limitation of time and limitation of matter. However, when you clear and distress the nervous system, and as you know, Ben, in today's society, people are constantly in a fight-flight mode because of the stress that they encounter in life, with no place to exit, basically, to release that stress. They're in front of a computer the whole day. Or in a very repetitive type of work.
Mhm.
So when the nervous system is in a sympathetic mode, in a fight-flight mode, and you get adjusted and cleared out, and it comes back into ease and into a more balanced parasympathetic mode, then something transformed, because now you're in a state of ease and well-being in your body. And I would also add this, that as much as there is a need for medicine, it is still crisis care. It is still waiting for something to go wrong in the body in order to receive care, where chiropractic care is a proactive, positive service for human physiology that can be done on a regular basis. The same way that receiving a massage is very good for the human body. Having good organic nutrition and healthy nutrition is very good to the human body. Not once in a while, not just when we're sick, but on a regular basis. And that to me is the very exciting part of chiropractic, is that we're bringing a new behavior to humanity.
As a student today who's in college, or as a person transitioning into chiropractic school or preparing themselves for chiropractic school, they hear this message from you, and it's very much leading from experience, living off of experience. It's an experience-based message. Many of the things you just described, yes, you can hear them, but they have to be experienced. Can you talk a little bit about the types of experiences that you think are essential for students before they go to chiropractic school to really clarify why they're going to become a chiropractor?
Personally, for me, if someone goes into a service profession, a health profession, chiropractic, as a business or for the money, they're in the wrong place. That's my personal feeling. When you're in a service profession, especially in health profession, you have to have a humanitarian desire to help people. You have to come from your heart and your love for humanity and your desire to serve and help others. That to me is a key component. If you come from that place, you will have a joyful life. And as I mentioned many times, you heard me say, you will never, quote, work a day in your life, because you will be on what I call the endless vacation. How can it be when it's your passion, when it's your love, when it's your bliss, when it's your hobby? You love to do it. Of course you take vacation, or of course you take weekend to recharge. But you come back and you're so thrilled and excited to be in there and touch and clear people and adjust them and empower them and inspire them and brings them a whole new consciousness. That is extraordinary. So that's one experience that I would relate to. And the other thing is, seek to go visit a chiropractor, which I would call is a vitalistic chiropractor. So ask, do you see a lot of families and children? Yes, great. Do you strictly use your hands, and do you give talks and communication about chiropractic principle and philosophy? Yes. Go visit someone like this. And I guarantee you, if you go into a place like this, it will be busy, it will be a life party, it will be dynamic and exciting, and you will come out going like, wow, I had no idea. And that may cause you to make a decision, whoa, too much for me, or to the contrary, that's what I want to do.
And then once they go and have those experiences, just really briefly, can you endorse a couple of the schools that you would say are still honoring chiropractic and it still exists on those campuses?
Yeah, I will endorse Life Chiropractic College West in Hayward, California, Life University in Atlanta, Georgia, Sherman College of Chiropractic in Spartanburg, South Carolina, Barcelona Chiropractic College in Barcelona, Spain, and on the vitalistic, truly chiropractic side, that is it. Now, there are many other colleges where someone may go there and get what I call a pseudo chiropractic education, a half breed between medicine and chiropractic and physical therapy and osteopathy and acupuncture and nutrition and everything else under the sun.
Mhm.
That does not mean that while in those schools, they may not stumble into a nucleus within that school of people that have tapped into the true essence of chiropractic and the true message of chiropractic and understand the principles, the philosophy, the science, and the art of chiropractic. It can happen. But if they want to go to a truly vitalistic school, those are the schools that I would endorse.
I'll add two more. One is New Zealand Chiropractic College, and the other
Correct.
one is a brand new school that just started within the last couple months called Australian Chiropractic College. But nobody really knows about it yet because they
Okay.
haven't even really gotten going. But
Yeah, and my apology to New Zealand because I know it's a fantastic school, extraordinary, and it totally slipped my mind.
no worries. So what you're describing is infrastructure. Even if they go to a school that might not be one of the ones that you mentioned, there is a possibility that there's some structure that exists for them to still tap into chiropractic and still develop themselves alongside other students who are really trying to remain connected to chiropractic as they go through this education. You're somebody who's really contributed a lot of structure to the profession to help new chiropractors, to help practicing chiropractors remain connected to chiropractic. I think back in the day they called it slipping and checking, but you've really developed some infrastructure. Can you just expand the context for any prospective student on some of the infrastructure that you've contributed to the profession?
Okay, so first thing is while in school, there is the curriculum that you have to study in order to take your board and get a license. That's one thing. And you have to be aware that if this is the only thing you do, you might end up being a decent chiropractor, even maybe a good chiropractor. But more likely, that is not sufficient. And that is not peculiar to chiropractic. It is true of architecture, of medicine, of psychology, of law, and so on. So while in chiropractic college, many chiropractic students will take extracurriculum seminars outside the curriculum. So, my contribution has been MLS adjusting seminar, which is basically to allow people to step out of what is called a technique and move into becoming a true artist in the art of clearing the neurospinal system, the channel between brain and body. That's one thing. Then I created a Cafe of Life model, which is a model of practice, which is very vitalistic. And for, I think, 14 or 15 years, I had Masterpiece Training Camp, which was a 6-day intensive training camp. It's no longer happening, but I had that. But what I think happened as a result of my influence within the profession is that it has birthed a culture of we're going to train like professional outside the school because what we are taught in school is not sufficient to be highly proficient in the art of chiropractic. So it has birthed a culture that has now blossomed throughout the profession of many, many different seminars that have piggyback or stem out of what I started years ago in 1984.
For a new student to see and hear that, they might not be able to wrap their head, but you've literally influenced tens of thousands of chiropractors that are still practicing today, and the profession's not that big. Can you talk about what the inspiration was? I know you had some really great mentors, and your lineage was very closely tied to the roots of chiropractic. Can you talk a little bit about how you really wanted to keep chiropractic alive with the contributions you were making, and how potentially a prospective student might see that as a path that they want to take if they're looking to make great impact in the future?
Great. So you ask about the inspiration. It came from what I was doing in practice, and frequently people move out of state. So they will move from Pennsylvania, where I was practicing, to say Georgia or California. And then they would ask, can I get a referral? So I would try to get a referral. I would get a referral. And then 2 months later, when they finally have moved, get established in California or Georgia or whatever, they would call the office and say, Arno, you send it to a chiropractor that's part of your network, but it's not really the type of service nor the experience that we have in your office. Is there anything you can do about this, or somebody else you can refer to? And at first I say, I'm doing my best, but that's all I can do. And then over the years, more and more people start to ask me directly. They say, Arno, you must step out of practice and teach what you're doing and how you're practicing to other chiropractors, because we want to have that experience for our family or children or friends and so on. Mm-hmm. And that's when I began to listen. Mm-hmm. And basically life threw me in that position of having to create this 6-day intensive training camp, and also a lot of public speaking throughout the country and actually throughout the world. So that's how it started, and that was the spark, the inspiration. Like, okay, I got to do this because I can see that I can serve even more people by teaching others how I was practicing the approach, the very humanitarian way of connecting with people, and also the capacity to dispense this understanding that we have, this amazing knowledge and actually wisdom that we have about life, health, healing, wellness, well-being. So that's what's the inspiration. And for some student perspectives, they may think like, yeah, I have a great vision. That's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I also had mentioned in the previous question about the mentors that you had. Can you just touch on them and then maybe share some resources that a prospective student can maybe seek out, or that we can help connect them to, so that they can bathe themselves in this chiropractic philosophy and really the essence of chiropractic?
Great. So one of my mentor, which was my chiropractic philosophy teacher nearly every morning for 3 or 4 years, was Reggie Gold, Dr. Reginald Gold. And there is, a very eccentric person back then with big sideburn and rhinestone cowboy jewelry, very flamboyant is the way they look, but brilliant mind. Jim Zigafus was another one. Sid William to some degree, but less for me. There was some good thing to be had from Sid William, Dr. Sid William. Obviously, while I was at Sherman, Ly W. Sherman, who used to be the director of the B.J. Palmer Research Clinic in Davenport, Iowa, when B.J. was alive. So my education through Tom Gilardi, the president, the former creator and president of Sherman College, and Ly W. Sherman, and many of the other chiropractors that were practicing in Spartanburg, South Carolina, were all taught by B.J. Palmer. So in many ways, I've had a direct lineage through them with people that were students of B.J. Palmer, the developer of chiropractic, and that in turn decided to share and teach the knowledge that they had acquired from him. So I was blessed to have that connection. Mm-hmm. Sue Brown was a great influence. Donald Epstein was a great influence. I would say that Donald Epstein, in many ways, and I mention that frequently, has been to chiropractic what Einstein has been to physics. He really exploded the field of understanding of the art of chiropractic and how to clear the neurospinal system. So those were some of my greatest mentors.
Mm-hmm. And then obviously your friend Jay and maybe Lou Corletto. Can you talk a little bit about the trips that you took back in the day to other countries, and the types of opportunities that students have if they're looking to serve in other parts of the world, or what that experience is really like and how it might open you up?
So both Jay Komarek, who is probably the world authority on animal adjusting, and since we're mentioning his name, some of the people may try to tap into a short documentary called Life Adjusted by Jay Komarek, or with Jay Komarek. Him and Lou Corletto, who is also a prominent chiropractor, both were staff at Masterpiece Training Camp along with Sue Brown. So they were staff for many years and great support, great contributor to Masterpiece Training Camp. Jay really grew a animal and horse adjusting seminar that is, world class. world class. The man is absolutely magic with the animal. And I believe that for a prospective student into chiropractic to watch an animal chiropractor of the caliber of Jay connect and watch and observe how he connect to an animal and become absolutely one with the animal, absolutely present with the animal, and then the animal totally surrender completely, is extraordinary and will lead them to understand that that connection must happen also with a human being when you clear them and adjust them. Lou Corledo organized trips in Brazil, mission trip, humanitarian mission trip in the favela of Brazil, of Fortaleza. Extraordinary experience, because it was not one of those mission trip where you go there and you practice for a few hours and then you go sightseeing and then you party at night and the next day you do that again. No, it was we would get up at 6:30 in the morning, train and get prepared, and then go on location by 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and sometime adjust and clear people until 12 o'clock at night. The next day we would show up at 8 o'clock. There was 800 people waiting. So you dissolve yourself into service. You really learn what it is to give of yourself with no holding back. Extraordinary experience. So yeah, that to me was amazing time. Great contributor to chiropractic, in animal chiropractic, and service to humanity with Lou Corledo for an organization called Adjust World.
What's possible if we can start to plant these seeds, so to speak, and have shared experiences that no matter what school you go to for chiropractic, you will have at least been exposed to the message that you just shared, and maybe reflected on it and then chosen. And then I'm also just curious what your thoughts are on the future of the profession.
So as far as connection as a pre-chiropractic student, I would say connect with you, connect with me, and then through that network, connect with so many other people that are really worthwhile to either spend a day in practice with them, to witness them, to observe them, or to go to one of their conference, seminar, talks, whatever you want to call it. I think that could be one of the most direct way of doing it, because otherwise I'm going to fly, out of my mind, different names, but it doesn't mean that they'll have the connection. If they watch this video, then they know how they got it from you and can connect with you. And when they watch me, they know how to connect with me. And then from there, we can create a network for them. The future of chiropractic, in my perspective, it has the potential, and I'm not saying that it will necessarily be able to do it. It has the potential to be transformative for humanity. Just imagine for a minute if every human being down the line has been taught, programmed, because we are being programmed no matter what, into being proactive, giving themselves self-care, investing in themselves on a regular basis to have a healthy lifestyle, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. How would that transform humanity? Versus the present system of promoting food that is killing people, over-the-counter drugs that in great numbers are destroying people's health and life, telling them to disregard their body, to do nothing for themselves until they have a symptom, an ache or a pain. So the transformation could be monumental. And look at the saving economically in sick days that people wouldn't have. Look at the productivity that we would have when people are vibrant, vital, healthy, dynamic. Look at the creative power that we would have as a collective humanity. So that, to me, is my vision for chiropractic as a leading profession into proactive well-being, wellness care.
Well, you've done an amazing job of exemplifying chiropractic, the essence of it, you've lived your life for quite many years as a chiropractor, and somebody who's just sharing out of your abundance with new chiropractors, with the old chiropractors. And I just want to thank you for your dedication and service to the profession. And yeah, it's really interesting to hear from you in 2020, just to reflect on what's possible for the future. And still, I think we have positive expectations that chiropractic can go further. It can reach more people. It can have that trickle down into communities that are low access, right? Because we don't need any tools or supplies. We can literally go as a unit to these low access communities and serve them where they're at. And from there, we'll build trust. And I think that trust is the thing that's most maybe lacking in our culture today. Not only trust within ourselves, but also trust of people who just want to help us. But we've seen too many things go wrong in our families and in our communities to really have a trust that somebody's going to truly be able to help us. Any final message for a pre-chiropractic student on why they should really consider becoming a chiropractor as opposed to maybe physical therapy or medicine? You've already done a great job of differentiating it, but just a real clean, quick message as, you know, a person who's really just trying to consider whether this is the right path for them.
Well, I would say that's a great distinction between medicine and physical therapy and chiropractic is that we have a very well thought out, established philosophy that is a truth. It's not the truth, it's a truth expressed in a very specific way with a specific linguistic. Applied to that truth is a science, which are all the science of life. When you look at the human body and you recognize its complexity, it's a microcosmos of the same complexity as a macrocosmos. So we have a science attached to it, and we have an art, which allow for all of us in chiropractic to self-express with tremendous passion and with a way that has transformed our own being. So it's a very, very rich profession. It's not dry. It's extremely rich, and it is constantly growing and evolving. For me, it's not like, oh, I graduated from chiropractic college and I learned some things outside the school and I went into practice and that was the end all. Not at all. I'm still evolving and growing because this philosophy of life is dynamic and constantly evolving in an upward manner. So it's a very joyful profession, and as I said, to me, a calling and a vocation. So the joys that you have, there is no potential financial reward that could compensate for that joy.
If you're a prospective student, if you're a current chiropractic student and this message resonates, then please enter into the process of self-discovery, of self-expression, and become a chiropractor if it calls to you. Anyway, Arno, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And once again, thanks for being such a great mentor to me throughout the year.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this. It's very valuable service. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. Just a quick moment. And Reggie Gold's, I think the last talk that I heard from him, he said that one of his crowning achievements was that he sent around 175 chiropractors directly to school. And that really touched me deeply, that this guy who had done so much for the profession, that was what he measured his worth on. So that was part of where this came from. So it's all connected. Anyway, thank you, my friend.